more Yellow Vest protests in France, and Mexican cartels diversifying their portfolios. It's January 7th, 2019, and we'll cover it all today on The Hot Zone.
This is The Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
Hey everyone. For all you've been kind enough to include the Hot Zone as part of your New Year's routine, I just want to say thanks. Please give me your feedback if you'd like the podcast to be longer or shorter or cover different topics or whatever. I want to hear from you. You can get in touch with me through the Hot Zone Podcast Facebook page, my personal page, or you can send me an email at hotzoneholton@gmail.com. Also, please consider becoming a subscriber over at patreon.com/hotzone. It'll enable us to better tell stories and help more people. I'm heading to Syria in a couple of weeks with my friend Dave Eubank, and I'm starting to raise some money now so me and you can help some people there and really spread the love of Jesus in a very dark place. So go contribute if you can and watch what happens with your money. It'll be fun. You can send the money to PayPal if that's better for you. The address is hotzoneholton@gmail.com over there as well. Okay, on to the news. The Yellow Vest protests have been going on now over 6 weeks in France, and they flared back up over the weekend because one of the movement's leaders was arrested by the French police and charged with organizing an undeclared demonstration, whatever that means. This is actually the second time this guy, his name is Eric Drouet, 33-year-old truck driver from Paris, and he was one of the chief organizers of the Yellow Vest protests. He's been arrested. French law says organizers of street demonstrations have to inform the local authorities about their plans. If you don't, you can get 6 months in jail and a fine of like $8,500. Now, Drouet claims the event he was arrested for didn't qualify as that kind of event under French law. Whatever. Thing is, this could totally backfire on the government over there. These protests have all but crippled the French economy over the past 6 weeks, and they've affected tourism and logistics, the transport sector, and the unrest has kept spreading even to other countries in the region. There's a real undercurrent of free-floating anger across Europe right now. The tension stems from super high taxes, anger at the EU establishment, and the rules that they impose on member states. People are really upset about the seemingly unending wave of third world migrants who seem to now occupy every street corner across Europe. And I've seen that with my own eyes. There's rising violence and, well, all that is sort of bubbling over in France. So that's what we're seeing there. What's weird about the Yellow Vest movement is that both the far right and the far left are eager to claim it. The protesters there have marched to protest the high taxes French citizens pay, but they've also agitated for more paid vacation days and other kind of left-leaning causes. Then the street thugs over there take advantage of the unrest to loot and pillage, and you got a pretty sporting spectacle in the streets of Paris. But this crisis has been building for some time. Watch this. Paris, France, once synonymous with romantic getaways, fine dining, and world-renowned artwork. In recent years, however, it's become better known for horrific scenes like Charlie Hebdo, the Bataclan Theater, and other massacres, all with one thing in common: radical Islamic jihad.
Well, of course, the French culture has been changed. Society is becoming more and more violent. A culture of confrontation has been important in France. It's not only the responsibility of the immigration, it's the responsibility of the politicians who have really hidden the topic, who have refused to confront it. They were not taking responsibility to tell the truth to the people and trying to assimilate these people.
Our government became too much social. Those people, they come here and they want it all, they want it now, and the government to give to those people what a lot of people, French people, don't have.
It makes heavier the burden for the other people who are working, and then it attracts people who want to live on this welfare state. You're losing the best, you're getting, I won't say the worst, but you're getting people who want to live with the welfare state. The balance is broken.
Tensions are high in France, which has seen more than one terror attack per month since the terrible attacks on the Bataclan Theater and National Sports Arena in 2015. Anti-government rioting has also swept the nation, and there are some places around Paris the police say they just won't go. That means citizens in these areas are left with no good options for protecting their families, as the government's ineffectiveness has been shown during recent violent protests.
The police has not the ability to stop the rioters. They don't have the right to fight back. So this is why you can see all these cops, for example, when they're torching their cars with a policeman inside. That's insane. And the policeman who just went out of the car and who didn't fight back against the rioters got the Medal of Honor from the French Minister of Interior, which is absurd. I mean, the guy has been praised for not responding to the rioters.
They're not being allowed to even defend themselves against the rioters?
Not only that, their recommendation is don't defend, don't fight back, and if you get hurt, you'll get a medal.
Fox News coined the term no-go zones in France. The rest of the mainstream media has jumped on them and said that's fake, that's not true, there's no such thing. Is it true or not?
Well, ask the police. Ask the police if they want to get in some areas. Ask the firemen, ask the ambulances. They know they can't get there because they will first create more turmoil, and second, they will be under assault in some areas. They don't want to take the risk, so these are no-go zones.
They exist. They don't like to see police there. When police officer, police goes there, they send them things with fire or big,
they get attacked.
Stuff. They get attacked. People are afraid. They are afraid.
Well, that's no way to live.
It's not a way to live.
We traveled around Paris to several of the so-called no-go zones. We were warned not to be seen filming in those areas, so we used hidden cameras to record what we saw.
No police.
No police. You don't let the police in here.
Yeah.
No police.
Police ici. Police ici. Top.
So we were just approached by these two young men while we were filming, and between my broken French and their broken English, they communicated to us that we had to be careful filming around there because there was a lot of drug trafficking, and that if the police showed up, it would get very bad between them and the police. They did not appreciate police presence, and that if there was police in the area, that there would be a fight. While on the outside, things don't look that bad in this neighborhood, under the surface, there are some tensions that are right at the boiling point.
We need to transform our internal and foreign policy. You cannot deal with terrorists outside and fight terrorism inside. These are the same. I can't tell you how many people coming from Syria would become terrorists here, but I can tell you that the huge majority of these people coming to Europe don't want to live the way we live. They don't want to adopt our European way of life. They're pretending that they're fleeing a country and societies which are living under Sharia law, but they're trying, when they're getting here, to impose this kind of social order.
Those people that don't feel comfortable here and the way the French people, European people live, I think they just have to just go back to their home.
How does
Like
it
they
make you
want.
feel that those people don't want to go back to where their worldview is normal? They want to make you live like they live. They want to change
I
the
will
way
never
you live.
do that. If a third war comes, I will be the resistance. I will be Matahara, trust me. No, that will never, no.
You're not going to wear a burqa.
I will not, never.
It was clear during our visit that France is facing a crisis of culture that may not be reversible, and there are some unsettling similarities with issues we're facing back in the U.S. And unless our people can effectively defend our Second Amendment rights against those who would disarm us, we may be facing a very similar future. Okay, lastly, some interesting reporting is coming out of Mexico about how the cartels have been raising upwards of $1 billion a year by stealing petroleum from Mexico's oil pipelines. The new president, that they call AMLO, has vowed to crack down on the problem and has deployed troops and police to guard the petroleum pipelines in the areas where the problem is the greatest. They've got almost 23,000 miles of petroleum pipelines in that country, so you can imagine this is essentially impossible. You can't cover them all. And the criminals know that. Plus, they've bribed and bought so many employees on the inside of the petroleum industry. Many times they just drive tankers full of gas right out the front gates of the refinery, and nobody sees anything. Now, this is a pretty monumental problem, and we're talking like 26,000 barrels of gasoline being stolen every single day. And they're also now stealing propane and butane and equipment and pretty much anything else that isn't nailed down. Cartels are like any other big business. They focus on their core competencies, but at the same time, they're always looking for ways to diversify their cash flow. Narco-traffickers in Colombia do the same thing, only it's not with stolen oil. Now, in the case of Colombia, it's with another one of their incredible natural resources. There, the criminals are big into illegal gold mining and extortion.
Medellin, Colombia. In the 1980s, it was known as the murder capital of the world and was the epicenter of the drug cartel run by notorious kingpin Pablo Escobar. But a lot has changed in 30 years. Today, Medellin is working hard to portray a reborn city that is safe and traveler-friendly. The Colombian government has made great strides in countering the drug traffickers with the help of more than $9 billion in military and other aid from the United States over the last 30 years. Total production of cocaine in the country dropped by over 70% over the 2 decades following its peak in 1991. But the cartels and criminal gangs are shifting their business model to a different product, one for which Colombia is also known: gold. Some are calling it the new cocaine, and the illicit gains total more than $2.5 billion a year. Carolina Arbales is an activist who leads a socially responsible mining project.
It's impossible to say how much gold we have in Colombia.
Colombians have mined gold for thousands of years. Now it's being extracted at an ever-increasing rate, but as much as 80% of the mining being done is illegal. A large percentage of that is now finding its way into the hands of terrorist and criminal organizations.
It's easy to transport the gold, it's easy to sell it, and it's very profitable. It's a very good business for them.
So good, in fact, that the cartels reputedly now make 5 times as much from illicit gold mining than from cocaine. The government estimates that there are 6,000 illegal mines today across the country, but Carolina says that number is misleading.
Not all the miners that are now called illegal miners are criminal. They're just traditional miners that don't know how to make the transition to become legal.
Finding a miner to discuss the subject on camera turned out to be a challenge. It took us 2 days to find a mine in the mountains outside of Medellin. We've been driving around trying to find one of these illegal gold mines, and we were told there was one somewhere up this hill, but we're over 9,000 feet above sea level, clear up in the clouds now, and we haven't found one yet. So I'm not sure how much farther our vehicle can make it up this road, but we're going to do what we can and see if we can find a mine. We eventually reached a small village. The people were reluctant to talk at first, but after a while gave us the name of a local mine owner who eventually agreed to an interview. Eladio Antonio Suarez comes from a long line of miners. He's been mining here for the past 12 years.
The actual mines are down below. We bring the gold up with a winch.
He feels fortunate to work in an area that sees little cartel influence.
In these parts, it's very difficult to make a living. We end up working for the cartels whether we like it or not. You have to be on their side or else.
The 100-year-old mine shaft burrows deep into the mountain, and down here the work is difficult and dangerous.
We're now several hundred meters underground, and they estimate there's over $20 billion worth of gold in these mountains. The question is how to get it out. These miners are trying to get their share of it by loading 2 or 3 tons of rock a day by hand into these mine cars and taking them up topside.
This mine is now considered legal, but Suarez does not have good things to say about the process or the Colombian government, which has added massive regulations and up to 70% tax on his profits.
We're gonna have to get a new generator to process the gold faster and easier, since the states keeps putting more regulations on us. It's the only way to make a profit. Once they get done taking their taxes out, we aren't left with much.
The miners who work this area of Colombia don't mean to support terrorism or drug traffickers, but in a lot of cases they don't have any choice. That's because the narcos charge what's called a vacuna, or a tax, on every mine that's in this area, and they have to pay it. It's a protection racket, and if they don't, things could go very badly for them.
Now, you might think that all this theft doesn't affect you, but it does. It makes products more expensive. It causes everybody to spend more money on security and insurance. Just one of the reasons I absolutely loathe thieves of all kinds. Well, thanks for coming along with us today, folks. That's all we have. This is Crisis Reporting Evolved, and we're going to keep making it better and better, you and I together. Please help out by subscribing to the podcast, like I said, and hitting like on your Facebook page there. Don't forget, there are bennies for those who subscribe over on patreon.com/hotzone. It's only $3 a month. Have a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow on The Hot Zone.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.